कश्मीर के दिल में क्या है? Guess who is suffering the most? India and Pakistan will never live in peace.
India struck a total of 9 sites in Pakistan.
Pakistan has grounded all its aircraft after Operation Sindoor.
India shoots down Pakistan missiles across 15 locations. पाकिस्तान के 12 शहरों पर ताबड़तोड़ हवाई हमले हुए.
One air defense system in Lahore was taken out. There are multiple drone dropping been witnessed in Jammu.
50 drones were successfully neutralized.
सिर्फ ड्रोन ही नहीं बल्कि पाकिस्तान के मिसाइल को भी नाकाम कर दिया गया.
Namaskar. Hello and welcome friends once again to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. This has been a dramatic news week. A week where tensions between India and Pakistan are rising, where war clouds are now looming large. But guess who is suffering the most amidst all this talk of Muh Tod Jawab? No, not those warmongers sitting in comfortable AC TV studios in Noida playing out their war games, or even most of you, if I may say so, sitting in your homes and offices across the country. Those who are really facing an uncertain future, my friends, are the people of Jammu and Kashmir, who are literally in the firing line. At least 16 innocent civilians living in border areas, border villages of Jammu and Kashmir have already died in Pakistani artillery firing across the LOC.
For 12 days, Pakistan used small arms. Today, they used artillery fire.
In Jammu's Poonch, as per army sources, 15 civilians have been killed and dozens injured.
पाकिस्तान की कायराना करतूत में सेना के जवान दिनेश कुमार शहीद हो गए हैं.
Most of them are anonymous Indian villagers whose death won't attract even a quantum of the anger we saw after Pahalgam. Truth is, my friends, when you live in a conflict zone, as the people of Jammu and Kashmir have lived for decades, or are indeed too poor to express yourself, human life comes rather cheap, tragically. And never forget, unless the conflict over Kashmir is resolved amicably, India and Pakistan will never live in peace. Which is why I thought it is important this week to bring you a story that doesn't get enough attention amidst what we are seeing playing out between the two countries. Today I bring you 10 takeaways that may help answer a key question. Kashmir ke dil mein kya hai? The trigger for this is a conversation I recently had with a group of young Kashmiri students in the heart of Srinagar while covering the aftermath of the horrific attack in Baisaran near Pahalgam. We don't want to be defined by conflict. We want to be defined by our capabilities. We don't want to be disconnected from the world yet again. We are not just victims of political situations, we are dreamers who want to be doctors, engineers, scientists, and so much more. A 17-year-old girl student from Sopore in Kashmir told me, in a bloodied valley, hope and despair have coexisted uneasily, as have hospitality and hostility. There are many young Kashmiris out there desperate to break out from the stereotype of the Kashmiri Muslim, keen to become part of an aspirational society above all else. Surely there are those who may and continue to romanticize militancy, but in a complex Kashmir, you will always get a kaleidoscope of sights and sounds where a teenage student's plea for peace may parallel a more strident voice calling for retribution or revenge. In a conflict zone, fear can dictate on-camera responses, which is why I feel it is essential to cut through the noise to discover the reality of a Naya Kashmir in these troubled times. Post the horrendous attack in Baisaran Meadows and the Indian armed forces now retaliating against Pakistan, striking hard at terror bases there, it is apparent that Kashmir is finding itself once again caught up in a churn. The churn reflecting many dimensions, old and new. And after a whistle-stop visit to the valley last week, I give you, as I said at the start, 10 takeaways. Takeaway number 1. The anger and grief over Baisaran is genuine and unconditional in large sections of Kashmiri society. It partly stems from a spontaneous human and emotional response to the bestiality that was shown by the terrorists in killing innocent tourists. What is unsaid is that there is an air of repentance almost at past failings where people did not speak out strongly enough against terror. It was a silence that perhaps allowed terrorists to cross a red line with impunity. A red line where non-combatants are also drawn into the terror cycle. Enough is a belated cry I heard echoing through this valley. Takeaway number 2. Secondly, the unprovoked killing of innocents in the name of religion by these jihadists, by singling out Hindus, has provoked a backlash among those now wielding "Not in my name" placards in the Kashmir valley. You see, radical Islam has muscled its way into Kashmir in recent decades. The forced exodus of Kashmiri Pandits in the early 1990s is a permanent blot on any notion of a more harmonious secular Kashmirian. And yet even Orthodox Muslims I have met are admitting that the Pakistani-sponsored jihad factory is toxic, is self-destructive, and has become an assault on their religious sensibilities. Thirdly, and this is a key point, the pro-Pakistan constituency in the Kashmir Valley has taken a huge hit with recent events. Those supportive of an idea of a pan-Islamic brotherhood speak of their broad allegiances when the camera is switched off. But Islamabad is no longer seen as the sole guardian of Kashmiri interests. While many point to the obvious security lapses that took place in Baisaran, few are buying anymore the false flag theory of the Pakistani leadership, that this was somehow an operation of the Indian deep state. Instead, there is a growing realization that the Pakistani army state and the terror proxies have preyed on Kashmiri emotions over the years to leave the region in a state of semi-permanent turbulence. Pakistan or the P factor may still evoke fear in Kashmir, but I can tell you that there is increasingly a contempt for what Pakistan has done. Fourthly, the local militants who had a heroic aura around them have less of it compared to a decade ago. In 2016, the Hizbul commander Burhan Wani was seen as a poster boy of a new age Kashmiri militancy in the social media age when he was killed in a gun battle with security forces. The violent protests that followed his death were a reflection in a sense of Wani's large support base, especially among young restive Kashmiris. But even this Burhan Wani brand of localized militancy is struggling to retain relevance now, except amongst core supporters of the idea of an Azad or independent Kashmir. Fifthly, there is a sharp decline in public support for Pakistan, but that is not necessarily matched by a greater affinity to the Indian state. Let me repeat that. Sharp decline in public support for Pakistan, but not necessarily matched by a greater affinity to the Indian state. Truth is, my friends, the Narendra Modi government is perceived on the Kashmiri street as anti-Muslim. a sentiment which was reinforced in 2019 when India's only Muslim majority state was downsized overnight into a union territory. In their hearts and minds, the Kashmiri people are convinced, or large sections are convinced, that the center has reduced them to second-class citizens, denied them their constitutional rights and a sense of equality and dignity, adding therefore to a familiar pattern we've seen over the years of Kashmiri alienation from mainstream India. Sixthly, the elections of 2024 have done little to assuage a wounded Kashmiri self-respect. Omar Abdullah, for example, is widely seen as an elected chief minister, but a chief minister without any real power. Someone who is a well-meaning, well-spoken individual, an acceptable face for the Delhi establishment, but not the kind of combative mass leader that many Kashmiris are craving for. In fact, the entire Kashmiri ruling elite has now limited traction on the ground, increasingly perceived still as dynastical and hugely entitled, but maybe lacking the common touch. Seventhly, the massive security presence in the Kashmir Valley is still seen as a visible symbol of suffocating state power, from which many Kashmiris desperately want to break free. The routine internet shutdowns, the stifling search and combing operations every time there is a terror strike, the bombing of the homes of terror suspects without due process, and the harassment of innocent civilians are all seen as further evidence of a coercive Indian state that fundamentally still mistrusts Kashmiris. Eighthly, Kashmiris still carry a sense of permanent victimhood. This is built on the scars and resentments of the past, which is why every time a Kashmiri student is harassed in a campus in any part of India, the news travels like wildfire across the valley. A large number of Kashmiris feel that they are being deliberately vilified as anti-national by mainstream India, and therefore they remain aggrieved at what they perceive is a collective punishment being meted out to a community for every act of terror that is committed in some part of India. Ninthly, there is undoubtedly a growing space and legitimacy for what I describe as a P&P dividend. What is P&P? Peace and prosperity. You see, Kashmir has seen a massive upsurge in tourists in recent years, and this is one important aspect of this emerging P&P constituency. Baisaran has driven a dagger through the heart of the Kashmir tourist economy, just when it was poised for a major boom. And this is the stark reality that has partly fueled the almost instantaneous anger we saw against the terror attacks in the valley. In a state that is marked by a low per capita income, few job opportunities, many Kashmiris want to be part of India's growth story, even while retaining their distinctive identity. Let me say that again. Many Kashmiris want to be part of India's growth story while retaining their distinctive identity. Which brings me, my friends, to the 10th and final observation or takeaway. Baisaran, horrific as it was, has paradoxically opened a window of opportunity for peace stakeholders. At a time when the Kashmir Valley has been numbed by terror, it is vital to reach out to all those who are speaking out bravely against violence. When candlelight marches are held in downtown Srinagar in solidarity with the victims, the same downtown Srinagar that was seen as a separatist hub. When towns like Sopore, another citadel of separatists, has seen public protests against the terrorists. when you hear voices calling for maximum punishment to the perpetrators of Pahalgam, and where Pakistan, as I said earlier, finds itself rapidly losing support and sympathy among large sections of Kashmiri society, India's state and civil society need to reach out to the valley in a meaningful manner. Not by stoking Hindu-Muslim tension or by targeting Kashmiris in any manner, but by building on the idea of India as a truly secular haven, in contrast to a rogue and failed Pakistani state. Think about it. That was the Straight Bat. Do of course subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind. Namaskar.